Very warm welcome to Mr. Shetty. Let's have a round of applause for him. We would now like to invite our fellow panelists. Very firstly, Amit Murao, Principal Architect and Partner, Aashray Design Consultants. Can we please have a round of applause for him? Please help me welcome Mr. C.R. Kulkarni, Vice President Marketing, Tata BlueScope Steel, with a huge round of applause. Please help me welcome Mr. Rajesh Mehrotra, Managing Director, Berger Coating Private Limited. Can we please have a round of applause for him? Please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Abhishek Bhattacharyya, Asso Vice President, Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Please put your hands together to welcome Mr. Salim Rehmani, Founder and CMD, Faisal Roofing Solution. Please help me welcome Ms. Alina Romanova, Senior Manager, Severstal Management, Russia. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. Kindly take your seats. Can we please give them all a huge round of applause? Because it's not every day we get to have so many amazing, eminent personalities sharing the same frame on the same platform. I'm sure this day is going to be marked in the history for all the right reasons. And this is going to be a very thought-provoking and a brain-stimulating session, so we look forward to dive into it. So without any further ado, I request our moderator to kindly take the lead. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon, or good morning. Pleased to be here. I think, where is Ajay Thambe? We must give him a round of applause for putting up this wonderful event year after year. And I've now been associated with Ajay ji for the last 11 years. He's done a remarkable, work at keeping all the industry participants together. And let me just start by saying that, there is a saying that the steel is very cold and rigid. But today, we have about to prove otherwise, right? This is a panel with bright minds, ready to bring some color, also shine to the discussion on the coated steel sector in India. We all know that color-coated steel been used extensively in the roofing, also for other engineered applications, from doors to windows. Innovative designs have been proven multiple times that has led to the penetration of the color-coated steel. We are going to discuss and deliberate further what next. How do we take this industry further? So there are certain context-setting things that I would like to start with, which compares India with the global practices. And let's take these discussions further. And I'm going to take some themes, and then we're going to put this across to the esteemed panelists here, and then keep the discussions more interactive. Please feel free to put down your queries, if any, for the panel here. We will try and ensure it is, weaved into the story that we would want to build in the next 55 to 60 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, quick recap of what the color-coated industry have been in India in FY24. So if you look at the, pardon me, I think you probably may not be able to read some of those, but I will try and make an effort to read it out for you. So if you look at the color-coated industry, it's about 4 million tons. And that contributes to about 8.5 to 9% of the overall flat steel in the country. And if you look at the overall growth rate of it, it is one of the fastest growing at almost around 12%. In terms of the capacity, we have close to about 6 million capacity. Production is at about 3.8. We are a net exporter to the, importer to the tune of about 200 KT of color-coated. In terms of the overall application disposition, building and constructions account for nearly 60%, 65%, followed by your sandwich panels, then pre-engineered building, and so on and so forth. If we look at between the segments, BNC is one of the fastest growing. Sandwich panel is one of the fastest growing to the tune of about 19%, followed by building and construction at about 13%. Now, if we look at the capacity dispositions, what we have seen is that the integrated players have actually grown at the expense of the other standalone, companies that have been present in the country. So the current position of integrated steel producers in FY24 would be in the range of about 80%. As far as the growth projections are concerned, we see the industry to grow in the range of about 8 to 9%, to be about 8 to 9 million ton in FY34. So that's the broader landscape. Now the question that I have for the panel also as we discuss is, would the mix be good enough? Or are there innovations that should kick in? So if so, let's see how and where. Before I jump into that, let's look at a deeper, connect with the global, contemporaries in terms of the emerging markets and on immediate neighbor. So if you see, India's growth rate have been one of the highest rather, it is at about 16%, vis-a-vis the single-digit growth that we are seeing in the neighboring countries and other emerging markets. So that's an impressive growth that we are seeing, and it has grown at a rate of about 16%. If you look at the emerging markets, and one of the largest contributor in terms of the color-coated steel is the South Korea, where the per capita coated steel consumption stands at around 62 kg, whereas in India it's at about 3 kgs. So huge upside that we can actually expect. But again, I pause and ask the question, would that come from only B and C, or should we also diversify into other premium category segments? As far as the comparison between the consumption within the B and C and the others, so we are at a 3.9 million ton, which if I exclude China, we are probably one of the largest in terms of the color-coated market, trailing marginally to Europe. But one thing strikes contrast is the contribution of the BNC sector. BNC accounts for an average 84% across the world, whereas we are at about 86, 88% levels. So nothing major to take away from. So if the context is about, is BNC the only primary driver? Yes, it appears so, but is there something that we can do differently? Now this is a heat map that talks about the penetration of the color-coated steel across potential consuming segment besides the BNC. I think you would see largely a mirror image amongst the various developed markets as well as the neighboring markets. But I think something stands out starkly here is that the amber shade for the Indian market here in the BNC, which gives us again an upside potential that we have, plus appliances. Appliances is something I think we have not yet penetrated as much as what we've seen in the global market. So that's another pointer that I would like to take further in our discussion. Well, moving into the potential applications of the within the BNC, if I look at, we have largely seen color-coated steel being synonymous with the roofing solutions, right? I mean, of course, building है तो फिर obviously आपका roof ही major consumer है, but is that so? What are the different practices that we have seen in the other markets? Let's say in Korea, in Japan, in Europe, do they also use this as part of the facade or interior application? Just to give you a perspective, this is an India context. We have seen a lot of those penetration that is happening in the facades which are non-steel coated or non-coated steel. For example, we have aluminum composite as a wider application. We have got zinc composite panels, then glass facades, then stone ceramic, and comes the color-coated steel, which is only at about 5 to 6%. I think the point to ponder here is, why are we at the single-digit penetration? Why not at the, and I mean, I can't put a number, but the question is, can it grow up, right? Can we actually potentially use coated steel as a facade and interior application? So that would be another question that I would like to discuss with you all, my panelists. Yep, so that's it. That's the context setting. I'm now going to jump right into the discussions. Thank you so much for listening to me. As I said, please think through of any potential questions that you might have. I'll be happy to take up in the due course of our discussion. Okay, I jump straight to the discussions. My question first goes to Amit. I mean, he's one of the designers who is present in the panel today. It is not in an order, but let me take the question. Amit, I'm referring to the context that we just talked about. You know, BNC, building and construction, roofing is the primary adoption areas that we see. But do you see potential to get into the facades, interiors? What are the current constraints in that?
Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello? Yeah, okay. All right. So thank you for the question. See, even as architects, we are working with a lot of materials. And typically when it comes to steel, what comes in mind is basically roofing systems. So that is the predominant thought that one has. But again, as a designer, we see a lot of other applications as well. And we are, in fact, using coated steel in facades, and facades of not just industrial and warehousing projects, but of premium residences. Okay, so this is how we can challenge the predominant notion that steel is not just limited to roofing systems, but can go into facades of very premium residences. And obviously, this is not because one wants to cut down on the cost, but it is because the versatile application and the versatile aesthetics that steel can offer. Even, going deeper, not just facades, but we can use coated steel in interior application as well. So we are nowadays doing a lot of, high-end kitchens using coated steel, and it gives a very, very premium look. So certainly I'm of the opinion that use of coated steel is not restricted to roofing systems, but can go into facades, into interior application, and is not restricted to industries or warehouses, but can go across building typologies.
Okay, Amit, I'm audible? Could someone, technical team, could you look into this mic, please? Thank you. Amit, what I gather is there are applications in your projects, high-rise buildings. You also seen the roofing sheets, or rather the color-coated steel being used. But is it in the corrugated profile form, or do you see any aesthetic forms that are come up?
Yeah, so obviously corrugated format is being used in the roofing systems, little bit in the elevational cladding also. But in a lot of interior applications, we are seeing, flat panels. For example, we are in fact using steel for fall ceiling as well. And we can go for printed steel. When we go for printed steel, in that case, we can go for flat panels. So it is not limited to profiled sheet. I think it is the profiling predominantly is catering to the industrial and warehousing sector, where we want to reduce the gauge thickness of the sheet and then have bigger spans. But when it comes to aesthetic applications, it is typically in flat form. And in fact, it many times has CNC cut when it is being used in the facade. So,
understand. Yeah. We have seen some instances of these, coated aesthetics material being used in the building and construction. I go to Mr. Kulkarni, as a leading steel, color-coated steel producer, who have pioneered the introduction of the galvalume in the country. What developments do you see, from the functional aspect of the steel that are meant for facade applications, which brings not just the functional, but also aesthetic attributes to the projects, and that could have a wider adoption when it comes to the aesthetics? Why should I not compete with the other building material like the composite panels, zinc panels, or the glass facades? How do we make sure we compete?
To an extent, I think we are competing with other intermaterial product. But just to stay there on the facade, I guess obviously the aluminum coating material has a little bit more prominence than the steel perspective. But aesthetic, if you want to extend that, and just now what my colleague was also saying, that whether it is wood, whether it is camouflage, whether it is interiors, particularly fall ceilings, it is picking up, but the pace at which it is picking up is certainly not something which otherwise predominant in roofing and walling. So and it will have its own time to pick it up. We also should be cognizant of the fact that a steel producer can produce the steel with whether it is in terms of MPa, it would be 550 MPa and above or a 300, 350 MPa above. But we also have to have some sort of the installer ecosystem also ready. And the good and great example of that is that most of the doors are now getting built by steel. So the transition is taking place, but the pace is something which I think is a concern.
Okay. And how are you positioning your coated steel across B2B and B2C? I mean,
Yeah, that's something which is particularly if someone is coming from an FMCG background, B2C is strictly distributor, dealer, retailer kind of a stuff. In steel industry, maybe almost 100-year-old, we generally call it as a trade. Where, and obviously Tata Steel has taken a little bit of a pioneer role in structuring the go-to-market, having some sort of a disciplined channel. From a B2B perspective is concerned, obviously it is the large industries and then bigger government institutions, whether it is railway, warehouses, food corporations. But considering the difference between B2C and B2B is very less, unlike FMCG, the transition between B2C and B2B also happens quickly. So a person of a MSME or a SME may buy material from a smaller stores, and obviously a large institute can go to the company. So B2B is shaping up, again, not the way in which we want, but B2C certainly in India the channel is consuming much more steel.
so you mentioned previously that, the facade could be a potential application, but the ecosystem, be it in terms of the, I don't know, the design,
Installer,
something, installer, applicators,
Exactly.
post-installation services, etc. How and what kind of efforts you think would require, and what are initiatives? Do you have any initiatives that have been rolled out already in plan?
From our individual company perspective, certainly not industry's perspective. From an company perspective, we have a product called Lizat and Lizat Solution Center. So across India, we have created a channel of almost more than 100 Lizat Solution Center, which basically do what otherwise design, detailing, installation, application, all put together. But as an industry as such is not yet
We are not
geared up
yet
for
there.
that, certainly.
Okay. So I think we will come to that one when it comes
Sure.
to more on
Sure.
how do we develop this ecosystem to popularize it.
Sure.
But I want to go to Alina. Since we're talking about, obviously a global landscape here vis-a-vis the domestic current situation.
Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, do you see a difference in the form which the color-coated steel applications are, or how they are used in different industries? Obviously, construction being one of the largest, as we saw, 85 to 88%. I think there's hardly any difference. But within construction and applications, largely, let's say, if one has to distinguish and differentiate, obviously, it's not just on the basis of the price. I do not want to get into that, obviously, right? So, for a newcomer or an existing businesses wanting to look at exploring adjacencies or introduce a newer B2B premium segment, facade could be one, interior application could be one, and also to compete with the other building material. What parallels can you draw from what you've seen in the Russia or CIS markets or other developed markets and in India?
Actually, I would say that there is not such a huge difference between your applications and our applications in Russia, but I'm surprised by the question itself about facades, because we already use coated steel as facade, and for interior applications also, because not only for aesthetics view, but also for its own properties, yes. Because, for example, we have a product in Severstal, it's called BioClean, and we use it in the food industry because it's self-cleaning, because it has some films that can be used as for food connections, and so that is not a question for us itself, like about facade or interiors, because a huge part of our supply to our customers are for interiors and for outsides. So sandwich panels also there. So not much difference, the same applications.
Understood. You called out few applications, cold rooms inside, the interior walls of a
Yes.
cold rooms plus the sandwich panels. And we
Household appliances, all the same.
also appliances. Yeah, I think appliances is where we also saw from the earlier heat map where we have a, relatively poor penetration. Thanks for that. I'll come back to you on,
Okay.
further, if you can draw some further learnings. Question to Rajesh ji. Since we talk about, and I also heard Vishwakarma talk about the sustainability part, and I want to draw your attention on that. You've been global, manufacturer, European-based. What are the top 2-3 innovation trends in coil coatings that you would see that would, be introduced in India, or what is that you would expect that to be launched in India, which are around the functionality, of course, but also sustainability and maybe process efficiency, if I have to call out.
Thank you, Sachin. See, I must say that Indian coil coater industry is not far behind the global standard. Actually, it is all driven by the market because, and also the government policies. Because what is happening, Sachin, we talked about chrome-free, which should be adopted in India, but ultimately the government has to come forward and ban it because ultimately there'll be few players which are coming forward and they are banning it, but others are not following, then they will have a, big disadvantage in terms of the cost. So it's going to be a collective effort. We have to look at in totality. So coming back to your question, what are things we see in future coming to India? I think my colleague has already made my job easier. Some of things like on energy saving, some products which are already on test marketing and already very much in the market. Other is on a functionality because there are many products which are developed because it's part of our sustainability drive. We are improving the functionality. It's every day. We are looking at hardness, we are looking at durability, we are looking at whether the recyclability, all the factors are very much there. So which I'm sure is going to be here. Then on a curing techniques, which are there very conventional today, we have worked together and we found very good solutions on ultraviolet and electron beam, which I'm sure will come to India. Probably not in near future, but I'm sure you will see in 3 to 5 years, some line will come with a good curing techniques where you can do in 3 seconds and have a huge advantage over the others and also taking care of the environment. So I see these things coming to India very much. And with the all big players already there, I'm sure these are there on the agenda. Thank you.
Right. Rajesh, every market, of course, it's not just India, I shouldn't be calling out, but you have two category of consumers, right? Who are quality and then premium customers, and then you have got a cost-conscious customers. And unfortunately, we have a larger share of the cost-conscious customers. And my hypothesis is that it is because we are pushing the product in the construction, which is one of the largest consuming, and as you see, wider customer base, right? Lacks innovation. Do you want to counter-argue on that one? And how would your paint, I hope it is not a costly one, it's going to increase the cost of the steel.
No, Sachin, I think my thought process is like this. Of course, our customers and the people who are in the business are driven by the market. Okay. Earlier, you see, we used to have a Maruti 800, and today we have best of the car in the country. Okay, I agree with you. Today, coil coating, 95% is a commodity market, and the 5% I'll look at is a higher end market. With the purchasing power going up, with a lot of efforts which are there, I personally feel there has to be some kind of honorary association which can promote these things, which are like there in the, I mean, if the steel ministry can do together, all the steel manufacturers come together, we also join and promote overall the higher end products. I think there are many takers because today, I'm sure people wants to see the product for the next 40, 50 years. But probably that kind of awareness is not there. People are not aware about the products. So I think that is where we need to really come forward and do this. And I'm sure this 5% is going to be 10% and 12% in next 5, 10 years. Sure.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think, we have Abhishek from JSPL, one of the latest to get into the color-coated business. Abhishek, what's your strategy? What's the segmentation that you are going to look at? I mean, how much of it is going to be domestic, export, premium versus non-premium? Can you just share some thoughts around that?
I can definitely share some thoughts, not to discuss the company strategy though, but it is easy enough. We will definitely have a varied mix. Look, volumes will always be driven by the regular material which go into building and construction, of course. But then we cannot ignore the value-added products. And now JSPL is coming up with a state-of-the-art facility. There will be multiple lines out there. It's all happening this calendar year. Next month, we are coming up with our first coated product, that is the galvanized, and it's going to be a dual pot. We'll have, alu zinc as well the month after that. So it's happening at rapid pace, and we intend to, not become just another coated steel manufacturer who's selling 1 lakh tons per month. We want to be a global player. We want to focus on what the market actually wants. Exports definitely forms a chunk of our strategy. Typically, we have seen around 15% of whatever a company produces goes to the exports market. Having said that, it is very important to also remember that India is, all the growth you see in coated in India, it is consumption-led mostly. And there's a lot of demand. We have seen, just taking a cue from what the others have been asked a little while earlier, even building and construction, it need not be completely commoditized. See, we need to, and we are getting there over a period of time. What has happened already in Europe, we are going through a learning curve, even though color-coated started in India 30 years back. But our profiles, if you see today, it is the run-of-the-mill, ordinary trapezoidal sheets, etc. Okay, in one of my previous organizations, ArcelorMittal Construction, I've visited 2 plants of theirs, among several others that they have. There's a plant at Tiel in Netherlands, and there's a plant in south of France, at Serons. They make magic with steel. They're also into profiling, but you can have such iconic buildings built out of those. Now here, everything in India, you will have enough takers. I do not think that India is only cost conscious. I think increasingly, the customers are becoming value conscious. What is the bang for their buck that they're getting? And that is exactly what we intend to provide to the customers.
Understand. And you talked about, global credentials, and earlier Mr. Kulkarni also touched upon that, but then also felt there is a, ecosystem that is supported or completely capable enough to handle those projects. For example, I mean, we can go on listing, but at that end, I don't want to berate the industry that has come so far and so long. We have learnt over the period of time. Someone has to take an initiative and lead, right? So what is your thought process? Now, let's say you have a canvas which is open, you're getting into this business, and I'm sure your action plan will also, probably have outlets in order to developing this ecosystem of your own. How do you intend to, let's say, inspire and then also start probably a category which is more focused around aesthetics?
So we have to, as an industry, we actually have to educate the customers, or rather the end users at large. What is the total cost of ownership of a particular, for example, a building? or any appliance or anything that you're making, okay, we have to see that, are we delivering value to the end users and to the market as such. Now you see what is happening today. There are a lot of, our country is the entire country is a huge WIP. Everywhere a lot of construction is going on, and okay, so we call it progress. But are we doing it in the most efficient manner? How much of time we are taking, and say a concrete building today, it has a certain lifespan, but there is so much of fly ash. You see what happens in New Delhi every year in the winters. They have to stop construction. As a country, can we afford to stop construction? We have to be Viksit Bharat by 2047. Steel is the answer. And coated steel, definitely, it adds aesthetics on top of, the construction that you need. And it's sustainability. These buildings are, you can make modular buildings, you can make high rises. Look at the time that you are saving. Look at for example, if you use sandwich panels, what about the cooling costs that you are going to save in factory sheds?
Sorry, Abhishek, I just have to draw to the core, if you don't mind. What is the, like, for example, we have already seen the penetration of the steel in the urban metros, etc. And we have a set of ecosystem. Let's say we are talking about two aspects of it. One, if you have to expand, we need to introduce premium, then I think what you also earlier mentioned is that the facade is the premium product, right? It is not similar to what we already been saying.
In India, it is, yes, right now.
So if you have to popularize it, let's say, what kind of an ecosystem that we need to build?
No, we need to have, I'm very clear about this. We need to approach it, all the steel manufacturers, we need to approach the government together. And it is good for the country in the long run.
Okay, got it. So, since we're talking about ecosystem, we have a gentleman, Alina, I'm sorry, I'll have to speak in Hindi, Salim Rehmani ji. So he has spent 34 years. Salim Rehmani ji, takriban 34 साल, 34 years आपने इंडस्ट्री में बिताया है. He is one of the leading profilers cum installer and also runs a PEB industry. It's marvelous to talk to him. I had an opportunity to talk to him for about 45 minutes yesterday. What I understand is that he's done some amazing work. Salim ji, आपके 34 साल के experience में आपने क्या बदलाव देखा है? Coated steel then and coated steel now. क्या अहम changes देखे हैं आपने?
Thank you, Sachin ji. बदलाव तो 34 इयर्स में बहुत सारे आए हैं. आप देखेंगे 34 इयर्स पहले तो ज़्यादातर सीमेंट सीट लगती थी, जो है कि एसी सीट. आज हम कलर कोटेड सीट की बात कर रहे हैं. 34 इयर्स में आप देखेंगे तो कलर कोटेड सीट आया, इसके साथ आपको जो है कि नॉर्मल पीपीजीआई, पीपीजीएल, बीजीएल, ऐसे कई सारे प्रोडक्ट आए. साथ में एल्युमिनियम सीट भी आए जो कलर कोटेड के और फिनिश मटेरियल. काफ़ी 34 इयर्स में प्रोडक्ट को लेकर देखेंगे तो बदलाव आया है. अभी आप देखेंगे ज़्यादा बहुत सारे एयरपोर्ट्स पे जो काम चल रहा है, एयरपोर्ट में यहाँ पर जो है कि एसएस के भी मटेरियल आने लगे हैं, कोटिंग, जो लॉन्ग टाइम के लिए जो है. सबकी अपनी अपनी एक अलग अलग लाइफ है. तो इस वजह से लास्ट 34 इयर्स में बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट बदलाव हुआ है और आगे भी बहुत सारे प्रोडक्ट आने वाले. आप देखेंगे कोटिंग में भी कितनी सारा. जब 34 इयर्स में जब स्टार्ट किया था सिर्फ कोटेड स्टील इस्पात, तो उस दौरान मैंने आरएमपी मटेरियल 120 जीएसएम और 345 एमपीए. आज एमपीए में बदलाव आ गया है. आप देखेंगे आज जो है कि आरएमपी से जो है कि एसडीपी आ गया है, एसएमपी आ गया है, मटेरियल पीबीडीएफ तक पहुंचा है जो है कि. तो कोटिंग में भी काफ़ी बदलाव आया है और थिकनेस में भी काफ़ी पहले स्टैंडर्डाइज होता था 0.50 टीसीटी, लेकिन आप देखेंगे तो स्टैंडिंग सीम के लिए 60 मटेरियल और 80 तक का मटेरियल जो है कि जिस जगह पे जिस तरह का रिक्वायरमेंट है उस तरह को वहाँ पर आज मेट्रो के सारे प्रोजेक्ट चल रहे हैं. अगर मुंबई या जहाँ पर भी सिटीज़ में चल रहे हैं तो यहाँ पर 60 का मटेरियल और पीपीजीएल लोग एफोर्ड कर रहे हैं और वो भी एसएमपी और एसडीपी की मटेरियल ले रहे हैं, जबकि आरएमपी से बहुत आगे निकल चुका है.
राइट. कंटिन्यूइंग ऑन दैट वन, आप जब भी कलर कोटेड शीट्स की इंस्टॉल करते हैं तो पारंपरिक रूफिंग मटेरियल के तुलना में किन बातों के विशेष ध्यान रखना चाहिए आपको? जैसे कि अभी मटेरियल की एसएमपी से लेके पीवीडीएफ तक पहुंच गए जो कोटिंग की जो अवेलेबल है, उसका जो हैंडलिंग होना चाहिए, उसका आपका जो लेबर होंगे वो जो शीट लगाते, राइट फ्रॉम फॉर्मिंग टू इंस्टॉलेशन, किन किन चीज़ों की ध्यान रखना चाहिए आपको? और वो या प्लीज।
जी सचिन जी, बहुत अहम सवाल है कि आज मटेरियल जब हम अच्छी मटेरियल की बात करते हैं, आज हम पीवीडीएफ और एसएमपी और एचडीपी की बात करते हैं, तो हमें यही समझना ये भी है कि जब हम अच्छे क्वालिटी और अच्छे प्रोडक्ट हम लेते हैं तो अच्छे इंस्टॉलर भी होने चाहिए। जो है कि इंस्टॉलर अच्छा कैसे होगा कि एक उसे जो है कि बहुत अच्छे तरीके से, मैंने काफ़ी जो है कि एलएनटी के साथ काम किया है, अडानी के साथ और रिलायंस के साथ में। तो मटेरियल जब आता है तो मटेरियल का तो स्पेसिफिकेशन होता ही है, सारा चीज़ें क्या है, बट इंस्टॉलेशन इसको कैसे करना चाहिए। चैलेंज है कि इंस्टॉलेशन की जो टीम है, जो वहाँ पर जो है कि इंजीनियर है या सुपरवाइजर है या जो है कि जो स्किल्ड और नॉन स्किल्ड दो तरह के लोग होते हैं वहाँ पर काम करने के दरमियान, तो उन्हें कैसे सिखाया जाता है कि आपको एक अच्छी सीट लेने के बावजूद भी आज अगर देखेंगे तो लोग जो है कि एक ग्राइंडर से ऐसे काट देते हैं। आप ग्राइंडर से नॉर्मली काटने से या कैंची से काटने से और जो है कि आप एक जिपलर मशीन से काटने से आपको बहुत फर्क पड़ता है, क्योंकि रस्टिंग का सबसे बड़ा फैक्टर यही है कि वो अवेयर नहीं है, जो इंस्टॉलेशन कर रहा है वो इतना अवेयर नहीं है, उसे गाइडलाइन पता नहीं है। तो मेरा मानना है कि आज के समय में जब भी कोई मटेरियल कोई भी कस्टमर ले तो उसके साथ ये भी ले कि इंस्टॉलेशन का गाइडलाइन क्या होना चाहिए, कैसे करना चाहिए, किस तरह से मटेरियल नीचे से रख रखाव होना चाहिए, किस डिग्री में होना चाहिए, बाहर रहे तो कैसे मानसून जो रात को बारिश हो जाए, बाय द वे बारिश नहीं भी है तो मौसम जो है शबनम का रहता है, जो शबनम का जो फ्यूम्स होता है वो उसके अंदर एब्जॉर्ब करता है, इसके बाद जो है कि दिन की धूप में हीट होता है, तो हीट होने की वजह से एक फ्यूम बनता है। और उसका सबसे बड़ा कारण यही होता है कि आने वाले समय में जब कई बार वो महीनों महीनों वहाँ मटेरियल रह जाता है और लोगों को लगता है कि मटेरियल में तो कोई प्रॉब्लम ही नहीं होगा, लेकिन जब 1 साल 2 साल 3 साल के बाद बोलते मेरा तो कलर छोड़ दिया बॉटम से, मेरा तो कलर टॉप से छोड़ दिया। और इंडस्ट्रीज में आप देखेंगे तो रेगुलर जो चल रहा है इंडस्ट्रीज है उसमें तो बहुत सारे लोगों वहाँ पर चालू है सिविल का काम, तो क्यूरिंग भी करना चालू कर देते हैं इस तरह से, तो पानी उसकी वजह से भी चला जाता है। तो बहुत प्रिकॉशन लेने की ज़रूरत है कि अच्छी मटेरियल लेने के बाद अच्छा इंस्टॉलर होना चाहिए और चेक करना चाहिए एक अच्छा, जब इतने मटेरियल लेते हैं तो जिस कंपनी को एक अच्छे इंजीनियर उस बारे में जानकारी लेने वाला चाहिए, ताकि जाकर जो है कुछ सही तरीके से इंस्टॉल हो रहा। अब देखिए सबसे बड़ा अहम रोल है सचिन जी कि उसको चढ़ाना ऊपर से, वो वहाँ पर सबसे बड़ी गलती होती है, लोग ऐसे चढ़ा लेते हैं रस्सी और उससे, वहाँ पर ध्यान देने वाली बात है। ऐसे तो बात करेंगे तो बहुत लंबी हो जाएगी, बट है कि एक अच्छा गाइडलाइन होना चाहिए इंस्टॉलेशन के लिए, मेरा ऐसा मानना है।
राइट, थैंक यू सो मच। I think couple of pointers that emerge again. I'm leading to Mr. Kulkarni about education, of the installers or the other ecosystem that is associated. But we also step up and then see that the substrate itself, the kind of substrate that you use for color coating is also changing, right? From GI to GL, now ZAM. How do you see this market evolve? And do you have any number as in how much of a, let's say between the substrate, do you see a competition? Some of the mills have announced their, ZAM lines, and then some capacities have also come up. How do you see the, the battle heat up amongst these substrates going forward?
Yeah, good that you have coined the word battle for substrate. Yes, certainly from a zinc coating, zinc and aluminum, zinc, aluminum, magnesium. But we also should be conscious of a fact that although we are talking about ZAM, which is in India relatively something which has come last 1, 2, 3 years, but the fact is that it is there in existence in developed world since last 25 years. If I'm not wrong, I guess in Japan it was invented or made improvement with zinc, aluminum, magnesium. But the kind of a traction in B and C, building and construction, it has got, I don't think that proves that maybe for a roofing and walling, I'm talking, restricting my discussion here, is yet to prove its worth. Yes, for other industries, whether it is solar equivalent, certainly it is there and the value it demonstrates. But otherwise, apart from that industries, I'm not seeing any, particularly BlueScope itself has a AM in Australia. The roofing and walling has limited traction, just to put it this one. But any substrate battle is good for the consumer if it is going to demonstrate the values. And till that time, I think we should welcome it and we should ensure that investment in that direction we should put in, certainly.
Understand. I recall the position when galvalume was introduced earlier. So we see the mega surge in the galvalume consumption. I mean, well, it's anyone's take how ZAM takes over in the future. Anyways, Rajesh, I'm coming back to you on the sustainable development, which is both challenge and an opportunity, right? In the coating. What role can a paint manufacturers like Berger Becker play in this enabling low carbon, long life cycle, and coated steel solutions?
सचिन जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं आपको हिंदी में जो आप वार्तालाप कर रहे थे एज ए सूत्रधार मैं बहुत बहुत आपको बधाई देना चाहता हूँ और इनके लिए एक बिग राउंड अप्लॉज होना चाहिए भाई कितनी विशुद्ध हिंदी में इन्होंने वार्तालाप किया I was really amazed with the nice Hindi. Okay, thank you. Sachin, coming back to your question about how we are contributing to the industry, I think we have a very major role to play because today we say paint is only 7-8%, but our customers are really going ahead much faster in terms of reducing the carbon footprint. I mean, if they move from conventional blast furnace to the electric furnace, then certainly their contribution is going to be much lower and then our percentage is going to be much higher. I mean, from 7% we can go 20%. So our role is actually very critical that how to bring down the 7%. Sure. So basically we are looking at different things like all three pillars. I mean, we have been talking about product, operation, and the people. Okay, so I'm just taking aside the people, but in terms of product, we have done a lot of things which my colleague has already discussed in the previous presentation. I don't want to repeat it, but certainly India industry is ready to adopt. In curing technology, I see it will take time because it is absolutely a different technology and each and every mill has to, I mean, each new mills can adopt, but the existing one has to dismantle and do a lot of investment. So I see it is going to take time. But coming back to the functionality part, we are very much ready. We have many products which can market together. And we see a very bright future, I mean, in terms of coated steel and with the lot of technology coming, I think we are very much ready. So as a paint manufacturer, as I said, we'll be very happy to come forward and support, and which we have been doing in every forum and with every customer. Yeah.
Thank you, Rajesh. And BB and others are doing an excellent job with that, taken a lead initiative on that. But I think one thing and which we all probably agree, there is a design house which designs a building or a complex or an establishment, and then manufacturers, and then an installer. So I don't know whether how seamlessly they're integrated, So we have seen a lot of internationally, there is a mill which also entrench all the way up to installation, So they've seen and identified gaps and then gone deeper into that. I don't know when it will happen here or if it's already happening, pardon my knowledge on that one. But taking that discussion forward, like you have steel manufacturing, and I want to put this question to Amit on the sustainability aspect.
Sachin, before that, can I just intervene? Yeah. As a paint manufacturer, we have been using a lot of our CSR funds to train the painters. Okay, and the skill development program has been a very successful. because painters have much better knowledge. They can really do things in a much shorter time and all. Probably, I don't know whether that is happening in the steel industry or not. Maybe they can also use the CSR fund and train all the applicators
I
and
think
people.
brilliant suggestion.
Yeah. So,
Brilliant suggestion. We should see how do we take it
so
further.
we'll be very happy to share our skill development program, which we have been doing across the country. And there is the ministry is supporting us. We have a huge, I'll say, traction on this, and we got a lot of benefit. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
No, it's fantastic. It's very important. I think we should request Ajay Thambeji to actually collectively lead that initiative as well.
Yeah.
Of course, of bringing the participant together. I know Ajay Thambeji won't be able to take that further, but bringing all the industry leaders like you, coil coating, manufacturers, the steel manufacturers, installers together to make sure,
Thank you.
it's taken to logical conclusion. Yes. I'm moving to Amit on the sustainability aspect. How do these whole coated steels, responsible for the design and the, green construction? I mean, how do designers look at it? And steel as, color-coated steel as one of the, material of construction.
Okay, all right. I would start from a relatively broader perspective because as an architect, I wanted to bring this up. See, when we talk of color-coated steel, normally the image that comes is industries and warehouses. And, what we are trying to do now is penetrate this material into residential segment as well. So we feel this is certainly a very sustainable material. It is a circular material. It can be recycled. It is kind of modular. In fact, if required, it can be disassembled as well. So from sustainability perspective, it is very much relevant. And what we are also trying to do, in fact, I would like to give one example. So we recently did a farmhouse where the entire construction was done using steel, okay? And so we've been using steel and we have been doing a lot of steel building projects all across India since past many years. Predominantly, they were all industrial and warehouses, and this was something new for us also as architects to use to make a residential building completely out of steel. So once we were through with this project, it gave us a lot of confidence that yes, we can use steel for a complete, a residential project. And once we completed the project, more clients came to us saying that, they were also surprised and they were very eager to, explore the possibility of building their houses in steel. So I think we need to change the perception there. Yeah. And it is certainly a very sustainable material.
Got it. I think it's good to know more and more. You need to build some prototypes, so the templates, pilot works.
Yes, because that is when you gain that confidence.
Yeah, right. Alina, I'm going to you. Want to add anything on the question? So Alina is mostly comes with a technical background, but I'm actually going to put her something related to the market and the commercial side of it. But do you want to contribute to any of these discussions that we had on the technical side of it, be it in terms of the manufacturing or the coating technologies or the sustainability
there was
aspect?
Such a good answers that I really agree with all of them. Thank you very much. It was good to know some things that I didn't know about substrate and about the market in India. About sustainability and steel construction, for us in Russia, it's also a rising topic because we are now just started to go into that market, and our company itself construct the building which are made solely from steel. So we have even managed to build one. So we also, like you, gained confidence in that market. So I don't really have anything like innovative to tell you because we are very, very similar, which I'm surprised actually, because we have similar market, we have similar opinions. So thank you.
Understand. I just take the discussion forward. Do you see any opportunity or a potential for India-Russia collaboration in the coated steel business? Be it in terms of the technology?
I think we're already working in that direction for our company itself. For example, we are looking for manufacturers of paints here. We already have connections. We already have some samples in our lab in Russia. So I think there are plenty of opportunities to work together.
Okay, good to know that. I hope you have a wonderful networking sessions with the prospective partners here. Question goes to Mr. Kulkarni. Um, Mr. Kulkarni, what you have seen is that traditionally the penetration, I mean, come to think about it in terms of the penetration also earlier as shown, be it in terms of the building, roofing, with the respected applications, also in the infrastructure, right? To a level where we have almost there. You name a infra project, we have a color-coded steel used. Name building constructions, you will have it. But next thing could be the geographic expansions, right? I mean, a footprint expansion into maybe tier 2, tier 3, rural. Well, there are sporadic uses. Of course, you would say earlier that B2C is one of the prime driver of sales for you. How do you see the demand from tier 2, tier 3 evolve? And what are their asks? I mean, are they looking at a more premium or a quality at a fair price? What are their asks going to be? And how do you think, third question, how do you think we should be looking at tapping that market? I'm assuming it would be big if I had to relatively draw some comparison with the TMT that goes in construction.
I can tell you from our experience, the steel consumptions for a roofing has moved from metros to tier 1, restricted to industrial zones like MIDC, GIDC, and to then tier 2 and tier 3, which broadly we classify it as a urban, semi-urban, and rural market. Strictly speaking, we are yet to replace asbestos from tier 3.
Okay.
So the fact remains that the predominant presence of tier 3, asbestos in tier 3, and unfortunately, fortunately from a consumption perspective, is very huge market. Maybe on a broader scale, we have some 800 odd districts and 9,000 taluka or tehsil. Our own presence is there in almost 6,500 tehsil. But the rural and the consumption, particularly in tier 3 and tier 2, asbestos is leading. Coming back to wherever the traction is there for a metal roofing, obviously it started the journey with the galvanized corrugated or a GC, and then switched it over to color-coated for an aesthetic region, which was obviously led by PPGI material. And then obviously the various value-added premium products are also getting sold. The overall purchasing power increased in India. The traction is now, we can see that. But it will take time. Obviously, then the functionality matters a lot there. Aesthetic matters. The overall life cycle cost, or just now what was said about the cost of ownership, all that needs to get communicated or translated to the rural consumer. I guess that journey is far off. But certainly one can see with reasonable confidence that from a metro to tier 1 to tier 2 and 3, or a semi-urban rural, the transition is happening from a consumption perspective.
Okay. And third question, what kind of a product are they looking for? I mean, the similar one what you sell in the urban and the infra, or do you need to look at a second line or a differentiated product?
Yeah, you can name it as a value or a budget grade, budget kind of a product, particularly in roofing industry. We call it, we categorized it into GSM and the lower GSM specs with lower paint microns. That is the kind of a product presently getting consumed. But even in the rural area, particularly those, now if you go to the Kerala, northern Kerala, where Gulf money runs the rural, obviously, and the people are fairly literate, there obviously the various DNAs of the products are getting asked for, and we are supplying there. But otherwise, whether it is UP, Bihar, the lower GSM and the lower micron product. Someone was also referring Unicoat in the morning. That kind of a product is also getting consumed there. It will take time. The transition will take time. But I think the constant efforts from the industry certainly will give the value to the rural consumer as well.
Understand. Thank you so much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll pause. Move over to you. You have the power. You have the authority. Please do feel free to ask questions.
Yeah. Can we please, the floor is now open for Q&A. Can we please have some questions coming in? And also introduce yourself and the company before you would like to place the question. Can we have the mic over here, please?
No, he's just...
Okay.
Just
Okay.
greeting.
Okay.
No questions.
Any questions for any of the speakers or panelists on board? They all have flown down from...
Okay, we have one question.
Hi, my question to...
Sir, would you mind please introducing yourself briefly though?
I'm Sushil Manaxia from Manaxia. Right, okay. My question to all of you is that, are you really, is there any development towards solvent-free paints? Because we are talking about sustainability and environment. So this question goes to the manufacturers and the paint suppliers and the consultants, everyone. You all are free to speak about it.
Sushilji, there are already products. Right now, you say almost 50% is solvent in a paint. Today, we have paint system which has 70% solid or 75% and 25% solvents. Now, we have 100% solid paint system. But the problem is it requires a different curing techniques because the existing curing techniques may not be, I think, appropriate to cure them. Like we said about electron beam and ultraviolet. For that, it is designed. But we are looking at the possibilities how we can use this 100% solid paint system in your conventional line. Probably we may require a little bit of heating of the roller and all, which I think we are working on. So we'll certainly come out with a good solution very soon. Yeah. Thank you.
I see some hands raising up in the air. Can we please circulate the mic?
Yes, first.
Can I start?
Sure. Yes, please.
Yeah, hi. I'm Shahid Badshah here, and I'm from Mitsumi Housing Private Limited. And the question that I have is that we specialize into light gauge steel frames. So we do take your BGLs and stuff like that to roll it in our light gauge steel frame machinery. We have two kind of technologies. One is the dry construction, where we use rock wool in full, so that doesn't have any problem with the steel that we use. The second question that I have is basically, what kind of steel do you recommend for lightweight concrete infills? So when we are filling the walling system with lightweight concrete, which steel according to you is better so that it does not corrode as fast as it would? And we spoke about all the three categories of steel that are on the latest one that is coming in now. So which one do you suggest?
Mr. Kulkarni?
In fact, the person who is sitting next to you is the right person who can give you the entire specification. But yes, we do supply, it's basically a 70 GSM material we are presently even supplying to for a drywall application. But we'll get more engagement.
Correct, because this one is just not the drywall. It's
Understood.
Also with the
I got it. LGFS entire.
Correct.
Sure.
So it also plays a lot of part in the load-bearing sector as well, These are all load-beared construction as well. It's just not drywalls.
Hi. Perhaps, I guess we can take this discussion offline.
Certainly.
But just more curious to discuss that. Okay.
We have time? We have a couple of more questions.
More questions quickly. Yeah. Can we please circulate the mic at the back?
Yeah, it's coming.
Yeah.
My name is Jayal Des. I'm from ArcelorMittal Nippon Steel. I have a question regarding that during the paints. Is any new paint has been developed for the ZAM product?
Sorry, what?
ZAM product.
Yeah. It is already developed and I think you already have commercialized. It's in the process of commercialization at your place in Pune. Is for the optical, your brand optical.
I'm asking about the ZAM, that is Magnolius or you can say. Optical is a different product. jam where there is a magnesium is a percentage is higher side.
In fact, Chetan, this jam and the magnesium is the same, I think.
Only
They are
branding.
similar. They are similar.
It's a separate branded for different application.
Yeah.
Construction. Composition. Give him.
Thank you.
Yes. Last one. Yes, sir. Ajay? This mic.
I'm Abhishek Kale. Nice discussion. One thing which we are missing, the ancillaries. They play a very important role in entire application process. The way you apply fasteners, the way you select fasteners, the way you finish cutouts. Because this is completely metal system. You have high tensile or low tensile materials. Some of the times what I have personally observed, wrong selection of base material for roofing and cladding systems, especially tensile strength. And when you are using them, even people are not looking at the positives or negatives of that. In USA, they have NRCA, National Roofing Contractors Association. Their manuals are fantastic. I think what I can suggest, if applicators or any companies, they can become their member. They can download their most of the stuffs. But then we need to look at applications very seriously, coatings very seriously, and especially ancillaries very. Next time maybe I will suggest Ajay to include a session, especially on ancillaries.
I think point well taken. When we talk about the ecosystem, we were referring to not just the installers, but other auxiliaries were also part of this ecosystem. And I think some initiatives, we talked about educating, bringing them on a common platform, sharing design thoughts, plus the safety aspect of it to be taken up. I mean, this industry per se, obviously coming under the steel, but doesn't have an association to promote this to within the group member companies and the concerned authorities. I'm talking on behalf of the industry, of course. But I think point well made, and perhaps we need to see, like Faisal Roofing, how do we make sure we have a better composition of the ancillaries also on the panel next time? Okay, thank you very much. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Been a pleasure talking to you all.
Requesting you to please stay back for a moment. Can we please give them a huge round of applause, firstly? Before you leave, we have a little surprise to felicitate all of you. May I please invite Mr. Mitesh Prajapati, General Secretary, Steel User Federation of India, Sufi, to give mementos to the panelist. To our moderator, a huge round of applause. Mr. C.R. Kulkarni, Vice President Marketing, Tata BlueScope Steel. Can we have a round of applause? Mr. Abhishek Bhattacharyya, Associate Vice President, Jindal Steel and Power Limited. Thank you very much. And finally, Mr. Salim, Rehmani. Mr. C.R. Kulkarni, sir. Can I request all of you to have a group picture before you leave, please?